Hello, my name is Alyssa. I am from New Orleans. I am 18 years old. I have been to private school my whole life, except for 1 year in kindergarten where I went to a charter school, which also happened to be the same year as Katrina, which is why I was taken out of that school. And I'm a Democrat. I am in international studies, public policy leadership, and French major, and I want to be a politician when I grow up. I want to work in the government making policy and making the change I want to see in the world, and I think these are all important things about me, and I'm going to share how they came to be. So, political socialization usually means that the environment that you grow up in shapes your political beliefs, and usually that your political beliefs are the same as what you grew up in. So, growing up in, technically right outside of New Orleans in the suburbs, in a private school where there are a lot of people that have a lot of money that also live in the suburbs, and we all live in a red state, chances are you're going to be Republican if political socialization works on you. And for me, it was kind of the opposite, being around that my whole life. I thought that it was working on me. When I was 8, I cried when Obama got elected because it wasn't who my dad voted for, and I thought that my dad was infallible. So I was very upset. When I look back at that today, I laugh because I'm a Democrat now, and that's not what I believe anymore. I don't believe the same thing as when I was 8. So all my life, up until sophomore year, I truly thought that I was a Republican just because that was what my dad believed, and I thought he was right. And I thought that I would agree with him on everything because I thought he was right about everything. I would watch the presidential debates with him, the Republican ones, and I picked who I thought I would have voted for if I was old enough from that information. I didn't even look at the Democratic candidates. I didn't know anything about them, and I thought that that wasn't something that was a good idea because, again, my dad didn't think it was a good idea. Then, in February of my sophomore year, right after Donald Trump was inaugurated as president, I went to Philadelphia. My private high school is connected to a high school in Philadelphia through a religious association that they were both founded by the same organization of nuns. And so they had an exchange program. I went there for 2 weeks and stayed with a family there, and it was completely different than anything I'd ever experienced. Pennsylvania is a swing state. The school is in Philadelphia, which is a huge city, and cities tend to be more liberal. And she was an only child. She was a Democrat. Her parents, one was a Democrat and one was a Republican. And I knew nothing about Democrats until I got there. The only thing I knew was what my dad told me was that they wanted to take all my money. And I was like, well, I like money, so I don't want to do that. But I learned a lot about her political beliefs then because I think seeing Donald Trump come up and become president, it makes you more interested in politics, no matter what your beliefs are. And so I learned so much about her beliefs and her family's beliefs from being with them at a time when everybody's talking about politics. They took me to Washington, D.C. I saw a protest outside of the White House, which was something I'd never seen before. And I was able to learn about the other side of the political spectrum. And I realized that it wasn't this big bad monster that my dad had made up. It was just an opposing view, and it was an opposing view that I happened to agree a lot with. And I learned to accept that, and I think deep down I always knew that that was my beliefs because when I was looking at the Republican candidates, I thought that I would have voted for Ben Carson, who was probably one of the most moderate people on that stage. So the closest to being a Democrat that you can get at the Republican debates. And I just didn't know that that was something that I could be, and it taught me to accept my beliefs and accept my differences from my father. And when I was a senior, I took the political compass test, and I showed it to my dad, and he asked me what's wrong with me. But I know that there's nothing wrong with me now. I know that we're just different, and that's okay.